We have a visitor. Welcome to episode 29 of the WoolJewel podcast. I'm Caitlin, and this is my knitting podcast. If you want to follow me on Instagram, my handle is @WoolJewel. I am also WoolJewel on Ravelry. We have a Ravelry group where I have all the information for knit-alongs, and that is WoolJewel Podcast, and I will link all of that in the description below. So today is super special and awesome and fun because I have hit 2,000 subscribers here on YouTube, and I am super excited about that. I just never even thought I would get like 50 subscribers. So I know I've said that a lot, but every time I hit a little milestone, it just is really exciting to me, and I'm really, really glad I started doing this. I've made so many friends, and yeah, so a huge thank you to you all, especially anybody who's been here since the beginning, and a huge welcome to anybody checking me out for the first time today. I hope you enjoy it. So just a couple of admin-y type things to get through before I start talking about knitting. I have 2 knit-alongs going on right now. One of them is the Sock'll Do KAL. So if you are doing any socks, making any socks, you can put them in my sock knit-along if you're not entering them into any other knit-along. So that is a year-long thing. I'm going to do a big drawing at the end of the year. And today, since I have hit the 2,000 subscriber milestone, I decided to do a drawing from that thread. I asked everyone on Instagram in one of my stories if I should do another live podcast or do a giveaway for the milestone, and most people said that they'd rather do a giveaway. Even though I never said what I would be giving away, people were more interested in the giveaway, which I was kind of surprised about because the last live podcast was super fun. So I might just do that again anyway because it's my podcast and I can do whatever I want. So I decided that I would pull a winner from the Sock'll Do KAL entry thread or chatter thread. It's the entry thread and the chatter thread are one and the same. So the more you participate, the more chances you have to win. I decided to draw from that thread without telling anyone, just because the knitters in there have been submitting stuff all year and submitted a bunch of stuff last year too. And so I just wanted to draw a prize from there for that reason, and then also because the prize is sock related, and so I wanted to make sure that the prize went to a sock knitter. So the prize for that is going to be a sock pattern club, which I think is really cool. Jessie Marie Makes on Ravelry has generously donated a membership to this sock pattern club, and so it's going to be 6 sock patterns, and all of these patterns are Harry Potter themed, so that's super fun. And it's going to start this June, and one sock pattern will be released every month until November. Is that 6 months? Yeah, so it's 6 sock patterns, 1 per month, and that is going to go to one lucky sock knitter. So I used random.org to pull from the thread, and the winner of that is Tart Paper on Ravelry. That's Caitlin. And Caitlin was also a test knitter for my leg warmers design that came out a couple months ago. So yay! Congratulations, Caitlin. If you want to send me a message on Ravelry, I will get you in touch with Jessie, and I'm guessing she will send you the pattern directly, but we'll figure it out. You'll get your prize. So yeah, I would love to see how those socks turn up, and that thread is going to be ongoing. I'm not closing it now, and so everybody keep knitting your socks and putting them in the thread, and I may or may not pull a couple more prizes throughout the year from that thread as well, and not just one big one at the end of the year. Another knit along I have going on right now is a summer garment knit along that I'm co-hosting with Elise from My 2 Tips podcast. She also is a very avid and prolific sweater knitter, so we just decided to do a sweater cowl together. So I will post the rules and all of that in my Ravelry group, as soon as this gets uploaded, so you can check out the info for that. I haven't talked to her in a while about it, so I can't remember all the rules and guidelines for it right now. I don't even remember what we're calling it. So yeah, super prepared. Yay. Sorry, Elise. But yeah, so if you're interested in doing that, knitting a summer garment, go check out my Ravelry group, linked below, and you can check it out. Also, if you've been watching recently, you'll know that I started a Patreon page. So if anybody wants to contribute to the podcast, you can do so. There's a link in the description below. And I'm mostly mentioning that right now because every few months I'm going to do a drawing from my patrons to do a patron prize. And this is my very first one. I have also used random.org to choose a winner for my first patron prize, which is a hand-dyed skein of yarn by me. This is what it looks like. I am not a professional dyer. I just do it for fun sometimes. But I dyed this kind of dusty, mauvey pink color, and there are like shots of like rust and kind of a greenish brown in there too, so I think it's pretty. Yeah, so this is the yarn that's going to go to my very first patron drawing, and the winner of that is Megan Leach. So congratulations, Megan. And if you want to send me a message either on Ravelry or email me your shipping info, I will get this skein out to you. Thank you so much to all my patrons for contributing to the podcast. For those of you wondering why I'm doing that, I feel like I spend a lot of time doing this podcast, and as you guys know, I still have a super irregular upload schedule. The more patronage I have, the more I'll be able to afford to actually set aside that time and, you know, get better equipment, all that good stuff. So yeah, so thank you for your patronage, Megan, and all my other patrons. There are other incentives for doing that, which you can find on the Patreon page, and I will stop talking about that now and get into the more fun stuff. Celeste from Yarn to Table tagged me in a video that she made with the Fibre Friends tag, so it was just a bunch of questions to ask a friend about your fiber habits and stuff like that. So I did that with my husband Ben, who is also the occasional knitter. So that will be plugged in sometime in the middle or the end of this video, and we filmed that a day or two ago. We did it at night with some big lights on, so it'll look a little different, and that's why. Okay, I think that's it. Let's talk knitting. So you may have noticed I am wearing a new finished object. This is the Jelly Roll sweater by Orange Knits. Well, she's Orange Knits on Instagram. I'm drawing a blank on her actual name, so I'll just put it up here. But I'm really pumped about it. I picked up this yarn at Edinburgh Yarn Festival from the Stephen and Penelope booth. So most of the yarns in this sweater are from Uschitita, all the yoke colors. So this is 3 different colorways. I think it's Braveheart, Bouquet, Love is a Battlefield. And the straighted color work in the yoke really makes them blend together, and they blend so well, I think, because the red and the turquoise yarns are kind of equal in value or saturation, and then the colors of the speckles were really similar, and so they just kind of blend really well together. I love it. And then the whitish yarn, the color of the speckles in that is kind of a turquoise gold that also shows up in the bouquet. So it just kind of had this really interesting effect. I didn't know it would turn out like this. I just thought the colors looked awesome together. I had no idea really how it was going to turn out. So I'm not, you know, it was not some like genius plan, but it came out looking like it was. I love it. So the color suggestions in the pattern itself say to get things that are really highly contrasted, which makes sense so that you can see the color work a little bit better. But I think it works this way too. The main body color is actually 2 different yarns. This first one is also Uschitita Mochaccino, and then this one is a club colorway from Hedgehog Fibres and their skinny singles base. It's called Sahara. I really tried to track down a second skein of it or see if somebody would sell me theirs, but I could not find one. So I got this Mochaccino, and then I kind of did a fade with stranded color work instead of striping. So there's the effect. And then I put a little bit of a mirror on the bottom. Uh-oh, there's a snag. Crap. Okay, it's fixed. Yeah, so this was totally experimental. It's Ben's favorite thing that I've ever made. I kind of did the same sequence in the sleeves, just kind of improvised it. Yeah, I love it a lot. I haven't ever knit a sweater out of only single ply yarn, I don't think, so I'm a little bit worried about the pilling, but I just don't think I would have been able to get this effect with other yarns. And I don't think I even saw other fingering skeins that weren't single ply, and so this is just kind of like what was available, and it just struck me and I bought it, and I'm super pumped. So I do have quite a bit left over from this, so I'm trying to figure out if I can combine these colors in a different way, like for a hat or something, and I don't know, because I really love turquoise and red, and then I wanted to get this kind of deserty vibe, and yeah, I love it. Can you tell I love it? I love it so much. Yeah, okay, so I don't have any other, oh, I do have another finished object. So I subscribed to Pom Pom Quarterly recently. I have always wanted to, and I always thought that, like, since I wanted Pom Pom so bad, eventually I would get a subscription from Ben for my birthday or Christmas or anniversary or something as a gift, but then like that never happened. I mean, he's gotten me amazing gifts, but I was just kind of holding out for that one, and then I never got it, so I just decided to buy it myself because it's silly. It's something I've been wanting for like over a year, and so at that point it's like, okay, I'll just buy it. Yeah, so my first one came in, my first issue of Pom Pom is the Summer Stripes. The Summer Stripes issue, which looks like this. It is gorgeous and amazing. I love all the patterns in here, and I'm really into all these like tank tops and t-shirts that are coming out because, you know, spring and summer, want something different. I love making garments, obviously, but I need some more warm weather things in my wardrobe. Speaking of which, it's June 13th, and it is unseasonably chilly today. So it is 60 degrees, or I guess about 16 Celsius today, and which is why I'm super excited that I can actually wear this. I didn't think I'd be able to wear this until the fall because I finished it and it was like super hot outside and I was kind of bummed, but now I can actually wear it today because it's been rainy and it's overcast. I actually really like it because it still kind of feels like summer, but it's not too hot to wear my amazing new sweater. Yeah, okay, anyway, Pom Pom. So I got this. I decided to make this little bag that's on the back because I've been working on a couple other projects I just kind of needed a little break from, which I'll show you in a minute, but I wanted just something quick and easy and something I didn't have to put too much thought into, so I just decided to knit this little bag. And without giving away the pattern, essentially, it's just, you just knit a really simple rectangle shape and you just have to fold it in a certain way to get the bag shape. It's called Judoka by Leah Moya. Yeah, like I said, I didn't want something I had to put a lot of thought into, and so I just chose to use yarn left over from the Vertices Unite shawl that Ben knit several months ago, because the colors already went together and it's a stripy thing, so it's like it didn't matter how much I had left of each thing. I just kind of improvised it, and I'll just show it to you. So here's what it looks like on this side. I haven't blocked it, so it's kind of wonky, but these are mostly yarns from Ben's shawl, dyed by Piratenwolle, and that is a German hand dyer who sells really affordable hand-dyed, speckly, fun, bright yarns. I will also link her shop below. So it's a little different on each side, and it's just a really simple kind of pouch thing. It's kind of, I guess it's like a project bag, and then you just kind of tie the ends together on the top to close it. This kind of bag I really like as something that you put into a larger bag. So just something to keep your project or your yarn separate from the contents of the rest of your bag. I don't think that I would just carry this around by itself on its own. I kind of like it as like an inner bag. Yeah, I put some yarn balls in there so you can kind of see how it'll look when there's stuff in it. Yeah, so this is a gift for my friend Michelle, who recently had a birthday, and she cat sits for us regularly and does a really good job, and so I just wanted to make something for her. Yeah, I'll probably make one for myself too. It's a super, super amazing scrap project. It just took me a couple of days. There are different sizes in the pattern as well, and I didn't even go by that. I didn't swatch or anything. I just used a slightly larger needle because I didn't want to spend too long on this. I think it has a pretty tight gauge for the pattern, so I just chose a slightly larger needle, but I cast on the same number of stitches for the smallest size, and then I ended up getting a size bag that is in between the two larger 3 sizes. So the one I ended up with is in between the medium and the large size. So I think it worked out pretty perfectly without a plan or anything. So yeah, I'm pretty pleased. And I didn't follow the sequence for striping in the pattern just because I didn't know how much yarn I was gonna have for each color, and yeah, so I just improvised. Yeah, so that's about it for that one, and this whole issue is amazing, but I think the things I'm most into right now are this shawl, which I'm not a big shawl person, but the ones I do wear, I super, super love wearing, and I think that this one is gonna be amazing if I manage to do it. You need 2 skeins of each color. I don't really have anything in my stash right now that'll work. So that might be, you know, next year or something, because I don't have plans. I just have so many other things on my list right now that I want to knit, so yeah. But I feel like the next time I knit a shawl, it'll probably be that one. And the other one is this tarmac tank top. I am really into the idea of knitting this because it is fingering weight and you only need 1 skein per color with like a contrast I-cord border, which I could use scraps for. So I don't know. It's just really simple stripes, and I think it'll be a nice, easy to wear top. We're getting into future knitting territory, and this is, you know, I'm still talking about my works in progress, so I'll move on. Okay, so my next work in progress I'm gonna show you is my Hovera cardigan. So this project is a beta knit for the Fibre Company, and they have a yarn coming out soon that is called Lore. And so this is 100% lamb's wool, and I picked, in my opinion, the most awesome colorway called Happiness. And I love this colorway especially because it is this mustardy yellow, but the heather in it is kind of a deep purple. I don't know if you can see it, but I love looking at it close up because I love finding the little flecks of purple, and yeah, it's so beautiful. I love it. So I'll show you my project. This is called Hovera by Annie Lupton. And it's kind of weird on my needles right now because I split for the sleeves, but I kept all of it on the circular needle, so it's kind of hard to show you the whole thing, but the whole thing doesn't really matter because I don't have the whole thing yet. But here's the stitch pattern. So this is gonna be the back. As you can see, it's a lot of bobbles, like a ton. So many bobbles. I love it. I didn't used to like knitting bobbles because, I don't know, they're fiddly, they take a long time, and a lot of times for me, I would get a gap either like before or after the bobble just from it not being able to like cinch into the fabric the right way, you know, or they just like wouldn't lay right or look right. And this is a new technique for making bobbles that I have not done before, and it's working. So I'm really pleased with that. They're really pronounced, they're really squishy, and I'm not getting extra holes or gaps in the fabric like I was for other bobbles I've made. Yeah. So I think in the future, if I do another pattern with bobbles, I'll probably do the same bobbles as I'm doing here, even if they're like a different size than the one that the other pattern calls for. I don't care. I just like how they look a little better. Yeah, so I'm really, really excited about this cardigan. I don't have very many hand knit cardigans, so I'm excited to have this one done. The body is knit from the bottom up flat, and it was like over 250 stitches for my size. And so doing all this cabling and the bobbles all the way across, because there's this back panel, but then each side in the front has a section of bobbles and cable, so it was just taking so long. I'm used to just flying through sweater projects. This one is a lot more involved, so it has taken me a bit longer. I'm doing it on size US 4 needles, and this is like a DK weight, I guess. Yeah, so it's just taken a bit longer, but now that I've separated and I'm only working on the left front, so it's just like this chunk, and so it's going by really, really fast because right now, for each row, I only have to go through one chart repeat. I don't have to repeat it several times in a row. It's just like this one little section, and this part's going really fast now. This is what I needed a little break from. I took this project to the States with me. I was there for my sister's wedding last week. It was a short trip, only like 5 days, and I brought this and my Zweig, and I didn't knit on the Zweig the whole time. I just really want to power through this. It's a beta knit, so I have to be done with it sometime in July, and I'm just really excited to see how it's going to turn out. So I will keep you guys posted on that. Yeah, I got a good chunk done. I was only a couple of repeats when I left for the trip, and then I knit, I don't know, those are super long flights, and my flight on the way home back to Germany was canceled, so it took me over 30 hours to fly home from, you know, the first airport to my front door was over 30 hours, so it was a lot. And it was broken up into 3 flights, and I had all these long layovers, and so I never got like a full night's sleep in that 30 hours. I just got a couple hours here and there, and so I'm like all out of whack. I'm super jet lagged still. I've been home for several days, and I can't go to bed before like 4 or 5 a.m. and I don't know. I feel crazy. So yeah, since I had that super long trip home, I got a lot of knitting done on the planes, and during, you know, my last flight was delayed too, so I had 9 hours in Iceland that I could have gone to a hotel or like seen a friend. Hi Linda. I wish I could have seen you, because my last flight was, I had originally 6 hours delay in Iceland, and then it was delayed another 3, and like 6 hours was gonna be tight to leave the airport and come back, but 9 hours I definitely could have done something, so that sucked. Anyway, yeah, so I don't have a whole lot to say. I can't share a picture of what it's supposed to be when it's done, so you guys are gonna have to wait for the release. But if you are into woolly wools that are not scratchy, this is gonna be amazing. I think DK is the new fingering, and so, you know, I think DK sweaters are where it's at right now. And this is a woolen spun yarn, and so it's more lightweight and you get really generous yardage for the skein. I don't remember the number of yards per 100 grams right now, but I think that's the case with any woolen spun. It's a lighter yarn, and so you just get more yardage out of it. So yeah, I'm super pumped about that. And I'm trying to think if I have any other whips. Oh yeah, okay, so my last work in project, wow, I can't talk today. My last work in progress is the Elk Meadow Pullover, which is in this issue of Interweave Knits. Which one is this? Spring 2018. So I have had this bunch of Madeline Tosh DK weights. They're different bases, but they're all, you know, in the DK range. And I know that I wanted to put them together in a sweater, but I didn't know how. So I've just kind of had them grouped in my stash, kind of set aside until I found the right pattern. So then I found this. This is the Elk Meadow Pullover by Paula Pereira. And I just thought it was perfect because I originally tried to put those skeins together in a Swancho, a Ninilchik Swancho, the Caitlin Hunter pattern, but I didn't like the big graphic color work. I wanted something smaller so that the colors would blend together more. So I'll show you the colors. So I had, this is the only one that's not Madeline Tosh. It's a Woollen Boon. Here's a Madeline Tosh. So I have a few of these whites with speckles. I have one more and I can't find it. And then I have this one, which is El Cosmico, which has some turquoise in it with like a shot of red and neon. So then I had this red one. And this one, I know it's called Undergrowth. If you guys want the color names, I can list them below, but it's just like a lot. So yeah, so I thought that this would be like really, really pretty. All these white speckly things with pops of turquoise and red. And I thought that the smaller scale color work was gonna look awesome. And as I'm knitting this, great, a bunch of stitches just fell off the needle. Perfect. So I just kind of knit the top with the most solid white, and then I striped it, kind of faded it with a more speckly one, the Woollen Boon. Can you tell I'm gonna frog it by the way I'm talking about it? I'm gonna frog it because I don't know, I have a lot of projects going on right now, and I'm not really digging this color work right now. It's just like too much to think about, and I'm worried about my tension, and I don't know. I have so many sweaters quantities in my stash right now that I really just kind of want to knit the things that aren't experimental, because this is kind of experimental. I don't know what it's gonna look like. I don't know how I'm gonna distribute the colors. Right now, I kind of just want to knit the yarn in my stash that is meant for specific projects. I think mostly because I'm working on this sweater pattern that I want to release this month. It's almost there. I'm almost done. I just have a few more things I need to do. I've just been like, it's really hard for me to get back in the swing of things after I go on a big trip like that. So I'm hoping I can finish it this week. Anyway, since that's kind of taking all of my brain power and all of, you know, all of my thinking power is going into finishing that pattern. It's my first garment pattern, so it just is a lot, and I want to make sure I do it right and like put out a good pattern out there. So I just kind of want to knit things that are in my stash where it's like I have this yarn and I bought it specifically for this project so that there's like no thinking involved. I can just cast on and go. Yeah, I mean, I might end up doing that eventually, but I don't like having half projects kind of sitting around, and I'm not super sold on the way I did the neck, like the top part of the yoke. So I'm just gonna frog it and then maybe I'll do it later. Yeah. But I just thought I'd share it. It's a really cute sweater pattern, and it didn't catch my eye at first because I don't know, the way they styled it, sorry, it's kind of blown out. Like the whole photo is the same color as the sweater. So it doesn't really stand out, and like the jeans, I don't know, like it's the same color. It's all like super kind of washed out, and it's a beautiful sweater, but I think that it could have been a little more eye-catching, so I didn't notice it at first. But if you want a fun and pretty straightforward colorwork sweater in DK, like if you have a bunch of single skeins of DK sitting around like I do, I think that this is a great pattern for that. So that's all I've got for works in progress and crafting for this episode. I do have a little bit of fluff stuff to talk to you guys about, which is like my knitting related stuff that isn't necessarily projects. So as a lot of you know, Madeline Tosh yarn is dyed in Fort Worth, Texas, or maybe a lot of you didn't know that, but I grew up in Fort Worth. They used to have a retail shop that closed so they could focus more on their like dyeing and wholesale and stuff. So they don't have the retail shop anymore, but they still dye their yarn in Fort Worth. And you know, I've always been aware that, you know, their dye workshop is like not, like their dye house is not a store. So I didn't think that visiting them was ever gonna be a possibility, but then Ben kind of encouraged me to just email them and see if I could go meet them and stuff, because I've always been curious. I've always wanted to know more about them. They don't post every second and every little detail of everything that goes on there on social media. Like, so I wanted to know more about them, and you know, I went to this high school like right around the corner from where their dye house is now. So it's crazy. And they're some of my favorite yarn. You know, Madeline Tosh has always been like my go-to, and they were kind of my first foray into like more luxury and hand-dyed yarns. So they've always kind of had a special place in my stash. So yeah, I wasn't gonna email them. I was like too intimidated to do it. And Ben was like, well, what do you have to lose? Just shoot them an email and see if you can go meet them. And so I did, and I never would have if he hadn't told me to do it. I asked nicely, I introduced myself, and they emailed me back. So John emailed me back, who is the operations manager at Madeline Tosh, and he was like, well, we don't really let the public in because we have to, you know, keep our dye process confidential. It's how we, you know, it's proprietary information. That makes sense to me, and that's kind of the response I was expecting. And then the second half of the email was like, but you're from our hometown, so we'll let you come see it. So I was like super excited because like the first half of the email I was like, yeah, that's what I was expecting, so whatever. Yeah, so I got to go to Madeline Tosh. I got to see where the magic happens, and it was incredible. I thought that I would get to spend like 30 minutes there and he would be like, you know, I thought they would be very secretive and like not let me see anything really, but then I was there the whole day. Like my sister Allison came with me. She knits too, and we spent the whole day there. We got there at 10 a.m. and stayed until 5. Yeah, John was so funny. He was like, I don't get a lot of visitors, so I just, you know, have a lot to say. So we just like talked all day. It was awesome. So we went into his office, and he just kind of told us about the company, like how it started, and you know, some things they have in the works to come out like later this year. I did have to sign a thing that said I wouldn't give away all their secrets. I don't remember what those things are called, but so I can't, you know, I can't say too much, and I am sorry to disappoint, but I didn't take any photo or video. I didn't want it to be that way. I just wanted to go as, you know, you know, because of my personal interest. This was not like a thing so that I can share it on my vlog or whatever. I wanted to go for me, and just like given the nature of how they run things and how they don't typically let people in, I didn't want to get weird and like try to take pictures of all this stuff. So I just put my phone away, and I just kind of wanted to get to know the people there and just see it for myself. So that being said, I don't have anything physically to show you other than some yarn that I took home. So I'll show you that in a minute. But so they have some things coming out later this year that I'm super pumped for. So I hope it all works out and, you know, it gets released. And while we were talking, some people came in with, you know, they had just dyed some yarn, and so we got to see a little bit of the process. Like, he was like, oh no, I don't like that yellow. Try a less bright yellow for that one. And I don't know, it was just like really cool to see how they do things. And I've always been curious, like, because Madeline and Tosh seems like they're everywhere. So it kind of seems like this huge operation. And it's not a small operation, but it feels that way because everything's very personal. And it's, you know, run by a husband and wife team, Amy and John. I didn't get to meet Amy because she was in South Africa at the time. So maybe sometime in the future I'll get to meet her. But yeah, so we just talked to John the whole time. And Madeline Tosh is not the name of the person who dyes the yarn. Madeline Tosh is Amy's great-grandmother, I believe. John told us the story all about that because I was like, well, I know that Amy is like the main person, but who is Madeline Tosh? And so he told us this story about her great-grandmother, and, you know, Amy wouldn't be a knitter if it weren't for her great-grandmother. Yeah, I did not plan out talking about this. I'm just kind of like blurting things out as they come to my brain. So it's a little bit rambly, but I'm still excited about it. Like when I got that email saying that we could come visit, I just like kept like getting excited and like wanting to look at the email like, ooh, they let us in. Oh my gosh, I don't know. I'm still excited about it even though it happened like last week. I don't know, it was just really, really awesome. Like, I've been using their yarn for a long time. It's one of my go-tos, so it was really awesome to learn about how they run things, how they treat their employees. They employ like so many women. It's mostly women, and they all make above minimum wage. They all have like paid vacation and health insurance. Like, they really, really take care of their employees, and I was so happy to learn that. It just makes me want to be a loyal customer forever, like knowing that everybody that works there is taken care of, and they really go the extra mile to make sure that everybody is safe. Like, they even have pregnant women working there, dyeing yarn. The way that they dye their yarn and what they use is safe enough even for pregnant people to be working while they want to be working. And I don't know, I just thought that was super awesome. And a lot of the people they've promoted from within, so, you know, I don't know, it was awesome. So for us to be able to go see where they were actually dyeing the yarn, we had to wait for their lunch break because we weren't able to see them physically dyeing it, because I think, you know, that's the kind of thing that they need to keep within their company. So the dyers were on their lunch break, and we got to walk through and like see all the dye pots and like the ovens and the stove tops and like where everything happens. Yeah, it's incredible. It was a lot bigger than I imagined. I always think of hand dyers as just like, you know, they've got like this space in their garage that they've dedicated to dyeing yarn. And I think that's how a lot of people like who sell on Etsy and stuff are. That's what I would do if I were selling yarn. But they've been around a long time. They know what they're doing. They have like this big operation going on, but it like feels like a small company because everything's so personal, and like, but I don't know, it was just amazing. And talking to John, like everything he was saying about how they run their business and how they make decisions and what they choose to do and what they choose to say on social media, like it just all made sense to me. There was nothing I disagreed with, and I was like, if I had to run a business, I would want to be like them. So they already had a loyal customer, but you know, they've done everything and said everything they needed to make sure that I remain a loyal customer for life. Like I loved Madeline Tosh before, and I super hardcore love them a ton now. So I wish I could share the stuff that's coming out soon, because I think a lot of y'all would be really excited about it, but I can't, and I'm sure you guys can understand that. So a huge, huge thank you to John, if you're watching, for letting me and Allison come check you guys out. I was super happy to meet you and just see how you run things. I know that this portion was super rambly, and I honestly thought I had to stop filming like 15 minutes ago for something, so I wasn't expecting to talk this much about it, so I wasn't like prepared, and that's why I'm all like jumbly. But if you have any questions, I probably forgot a bunch of things that I wanted to mention, so feel free to ask me any questions about what it was like to go there, and I will answer what I can. My biggest takeaway from going there was that whatever the cost of their yarn is now, I know what I'm paying for, and it's more than worth it, knowing that everybody's taken care of there, and they do everything how I think things should be done, I guess. And I think that for what they do, their yarn should cost more money than it does. It's not a perfect world, so you know, you have to charge the prices that people are going to pay. But so you know, if you're ever wondering like what goes into the cost of the yarn, just for me, knowing that the people helping create the yarn getting fairly compensated is like a huge part of it. So yeah, I think that's awesome. So after we went through and saw where they dyed the yarn, he also took us to the area where they package all the yarn together for all their online orders. So there was some people, you know, picking the yarn off shelves and putting them in bags and stuff, and that was, you know, it was like a ton. It was like a yarn shop, just like full of Madeline Tosh, organized by the different bases. And then my favorite section was after that, he took us to where their one-of-a-kinds are. And if you guys aren't aware, Madeline Tosh sells a ton of one-of-a-kind skeins on their website. So if you buy it from them directly, they have a sales section. And so that's where they put all their one-of-a-kinds, where it's either like mistake dye jobs or experimental dye jobs, or like things that didn't come out quite right, but they're still good. They're 20% off. And a lot of the yarn in there is like super close to what the colorway was supposed to be. So it's like, you know, you can tell that it was supposed to be this colorway, but it's just slightly off. So they just call it one of a kind. And I've bought a ton of yarn from there. It's like a really good deal if you're gonna get a sweaters quantity. If you want fun colors, that's an awesome place to get them. Yeah, so that was a huge area, and John was super generous, and he sent Allison and me home with some yarn from their one-of-a-kind section. I'm not gonna share it all now, but I will share it with you one skein. So I asked John what his favorite colorway was, or his favorite yarn, and he told us this story about how he wanted a pair of socks for himself, but there wasn't any colorway that he wanted the socks out of, and so Amy just told him to go dye up his own yarn. And if you know about the colorway Tart, that is the colorway that he came up with. and it looks similar to this. It's like a deep red color. This isn't the actual Tarte colorway because this came from their one-of-a-kind section. It's a mistake Tarte. So I guess it has like a red and a black in there, and then they got reversed during the dye process. So this is super close to what Tarte looks like, but it wasn't close enough that they could call it Tarte. But I did come home with a few of these. So, God, my camera keeps blowing out. I did come home with a few of these, and so I wanted to show you this one because I was glad I found a mistake Tarte in that one-of-a-kind section, because I wanted, just since he told us that was like the one that he dyed and it was his favorite, I wanted to take one home. So this is the Pashmina base, which is 75% merino wool, 15% silk, and 10% cashmere. So I'm super spoiled, super spoiled by this. But I would love to make a cardigan out of this color. I think something kind of Christmassy. It's like a deep red, I don't know. And I'm wearing red now, but red is not something I usually gravitate towards or buy, but I just thought this was so gorgeous, and I love the Pashmina base. It's amazing and soft and beautiful and luxurious and like everything I love about Madeline Tosh. Label says worsted weight, but to me this is like a sport weight, so I don't know why it says that. I don't know, this looks sport to me. It was an awesome experience. I am super grateful that I got to meet John, and hopefully can meet Amy in the future. I keep saying this, but like, loyal customer for life. They have one here, and if you've ever wondered if it's worth buying Madeline Tosh yarns, it's 110% worth it forever. Like, I love them. It was amazing. So thank you so much, John, for showing us around and having us for the day. And yeah, I'm getting to the point where like I have a lot of thoughts in my head, but they're not coming out coherently or clearly. So I'm gonna leave you there. And so I'm gonna plug in the video that I did with Ben right here. I hope you guys enjoy, and I will see you guys next time.